A very good evening to you and a warm welcome to the Business PM. My name is Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe. Tonight, I'm co-hosting, doing it with my co-host, Omaboe. Our guest tonight, Larry Kotoe, Deputy Director at the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, who is also coordinator of the Ghana E-Waste Program and World Bank-funded Africa Environmental Health and Pollution Management Program. Oheneba Kwaku Addo Dade from Echo Schools, Ghana, is also here as my guest. Business PM is brought to you courtesy the Center for Sustainable Transformation. This is the SDG-Hub, where we discuss challenges, opportunities, practical and business approaches to the Sustainable Development Goals, commonly known as the SDGs. These are the 17 goals, 169 targets developed by UN member states to make the world a more just, equitable, greener and peaceful place. Well, my name is Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe, and today, Omaboe from the YRE at the Center for Sustainable Transformation is sitting in for my usual co-host, Rosemary Palami, who is away at the International Conference on Education for Sustainable Development in Morocco. Well, last week we talked about air pollution, its consequences and solutions in the wake of Ghana's capital, Accra, being the city with the highest rate of air pollution, which came as a shock to many. This week, we'll touch on the handling of e-waste or electronic waste in Ghana at our very own Agbogbloshie market, which was known to be the world's e-waste dumping site and was at some point referred to as the most toxic place on earth. Unbelievable. Me?
Rightly so, Emmanuel. E-waste has been one of the major environmental problems in Ghana for the past decade. The Abogbloshie landfill in Accra became infamous as the graveyard for Europe's e-waste. Computers, televisions, and other electronic goods from developed countries pile up in this giant open-air garbage. But as we will hear today, some of the important steps that are being taken in the right direction, both globally and here in Ghana. Some 2 years ago, the Agbogbloshie settlement itself was demolished. But today, much of the e-waste goes through the Green Arts State-backed facility, which is run in collaboration with Environmental Protection Agency. But still, thousands of tons of e-waste are generated here, and most of it is handled by informal sector, consisting of a wide spread of network of unlicensed collectors, intermediaries, scrap dealers, and dismantlers who specialize in the manual disassembly and trading of post-consumer electronics. This is the livelihood of thousands of people in Ghana.
Well, I couldn't believe my ears the first time I heard that Agbogbloshie was one of, or is the most toxic place on earth. I mean, it's so amazing, but unfortunately, that's how it is. And Young Reporters for the Environment is bringing us some interesting facts on the latest development. So for the rest of the show, we'll be looking at e-waste, its problematic past and current status, environmental, health, and social consequences, and the way forward where tackling this problem is concerned. As you heard from me, today's topic will touch on a number of the SDG goals, including number 12, responsible consumption and production, number 3, good health and well-being, and number 8, decent work and economic growth. Well, once again, with us in the studio, Larry Kotoe, he is the Deputy Director at the EPA and also coordinator of the Ghana E-Waste Program and the World Bank-funded Africa Environmental Health and Pollution Management Program, and Oheneba Kwaku Addo Dade from Echo Schools, Ghana, and also a student at CeST University. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, so before we proceed, we would like to know a little bit about what you do and where you place yourself within this, the targets, the UN targets. First, Daddy.
So I'm a student at Asaase University currently, but I've been a member of the Echo School from my primary days in Omaboe International School, where I got to learn much about the SDGs, circular economy, take-back system, and the like. And now I'm trying to give back because I've learned a lot, and I feel like it's time for me to give back to society. So I've currently joined the Echo Campus program, which is focused more on tertiary institutions in Ghana, seeking to show them ways in which they could be more sustainably minded.
That's impressive. And it doesn't coincide with your academic activities in any way?
I try my best. To
Try your
make sure
best.
that
That's
they-
impressive. Now, Larry is a good old friend. I know Larry is at the EPA because I dealt with him in the past. But Larry, what again are you doing by way of the other additions to your portfolio?
Thank you, Emmanuel. And I coordinate the e-waste programs, specifically electronic waste, and how we can integrate them into a sustainable recycling in Ghana.
Okay.
And that's basically what I do at the EPA.
You're also a World Bank, environmental health and pollution management program.
Yes, so I coordinate this World Bank funded project, and it's also providing intervention specifically for electronic waste management in Ghana.
Right. Let me start with you first then. When we say e-waste, what exactly are we talking about, and what are the environmental consequences associated with e-waste?
Well, e-waste is just a general, I would say, term, which is electronic waste, but in more broader perspective, you are looking at electrical and electronic items or equipment that have reached its end of life and also being discarded by the owners as waste, and they don't have any intention of reuse. So basically, when we say electronic waste, those are the terms that we are looking at. So any old electronic item or equipment that you have and you discard of it as waste and you don't have any intention of reuse is classified as e-waste.
But ironically, some of these, used items are still performing well in Ghana, especially computers and things like that. Why are they classified as e-waste then if they are being used profitably?
Yeah, so the catchphrase here is if you have discarded it as waste without the intention of reuse. So once you still have the intention of using that item, no matter how old it is not waste yet. But once it reaches its end of life, and when we say its end of life, we are referring to the equipment not performing its original function. So if you have an item that cannot power on anymore, and you have fixed it several times and it's no more working, it means that it's waste.
Okay.
If you repair it and it can be reused again, it is no more waste.
Okay.
So that differentiation needs to be made.
Now, Ghana used to be known as the world's e-waste dumping site. How did we get here, and are there any regulations in place to ensure we don't get back to that point?
It's been a historical problem in terms of how we handle the management of electronic waste, and most of it has been our crude methods by which we process some of these things, and most of them has been attributed to the informal sector. And we say informal sector because of the methods that they use to extract those valuable metals or minerals.
Yeah.
And as we talk about electronic waste being hazardous, there is some components of the electronic item that is actually valuable in terms of the metals they do have. So you can look at gold, aluminium, copper, and all that. So you can hear about urban mining and all that. In as much as some of these minerals or metals are hazardous, they are also precious metals that people can use in the manufacture of new items. So it's the mode of handling that is making it a bit hazardous, and most of them we are talking about burning to actually recover some of these minerals or metals, which is making it a bit hazardous to the people themselves and also to the communities in which they do these activities.
Because I know in the mining industry, for instance, after mining, they still make use of the tailings, and people go for it and process them into other, products. Now, do we have any regulations in place to ensure that these practices are controlled?
Yes, so at a point in time, we need to put in the necessary laws to actually regulate some of these items. So in 2016, Ghana for the first time passed the Act 917, which is the Hazardous and Electronic Waste Management Control Act.
Okay.
And then also we passed the necessary regulations, which is the LI 2250, to actually control the way we do manage our electronic waste through the value chain. So we do have a regulatory framework in place, and that is what currently we are using to actually promote sound recycling in Ghana.
That's impressive.
So, folks, before we continue our conversation, our friends at the Young Reporters for the Environment have been at Agbogbloshie. They engaged with Green Advocacy Ghana, which has been working with the Agbogbloshie enclave in the past 15 years. Let's take a listen.
My name is Bennett Nana Ekufu. I work for Green Advocacy Ghana. I'm the projects manager. Greenad has been working in Abogbloshie since 2008. Our main focus was to reduce pollution, and we've done this through some feasibility studies, some environment and health studies to understand the pollution sources and how the workers here were affected. So we've gone through a few pilots to better reduce burning of scrap or e-waste at the site, and currently we are working on a KFW-funded project, an incentive system to attract cables, batteries, thermoplastics, and CRTs at Abogbloshie.
So you've been at Agbogbloshie for a long time.
Yes.
What are the trends that you're seeing in terms of e-waste, the pollution?
In terms of e-waste, the material flow for, let's say, cables don't stop. It's still growing. For other components, they've reduced drastically. And in terms of air pollution or air quality, now it's improved. After the demolition, the number of fires per day itself has gone down. And even before the demolition happened, when we started the incentive system, we went through a phase that we were counting the number of fires per day. And as the system grew, the customer base grew, the number of fires reduced. And visibly, you could see smoke each time, but now it's gone down.
So how large is your customer base?
We've done over 5,000 transactions, individual transactions so far. So that means we've dealt with about 5,000 customers, individual customers. And the material they bring to us is all over Accra.
So lastly, there's this perception that Ghana is the world's dumping site when it comes to e-waste. How is that picture now? Is still a lot of second-hand goods being brought in?
Over the years, the numbers have gone down. In 2013, there was this publication on Abogbloshie was one of the most contaminated sites in the world. I don't think we'll find ourselves on that list any longer. The amount of material flow in terms of second-hand has reduced because the income levels of Ghanaians have also gone up, so people tend to buy newer things which last longer. The importation has gone down because there are certain components that the Energy Commission, through some of the laws they've passed, has banned their total importation.
Well, as we've heard from Green Art Ghana, we are moving in the right direction in the conversation around e-waste and what Ghana is doing about it. But it would be good to also understand the different cultural and geographical perspective. So you, Oheneba, you've been on a visit to Norway to see some of the material recovery facilities and what they are doing with regards to e-waste. Do you mind telling us a little about the measures that are being put in place in handling e-waste from your visits?
Okay, so in 2016, I got the chance as part of the Eco School program to go to Norway, and I stayed with a host family for about 2 weeks, and I got to learn about their experiences. And as part of the different cultural shocks, one thing that really intrigued me was the way waste was managed, even in the households. So everything, every fraction of material that was used was properly managed, was properly compartmentalized, right? And I think what was most interesting was the way batteries, for example, were kept. So back here, you know, if you use a device and the battery is dead, you just toss it in the trash can. Out there, the batteries were kept separately, and I didn't really understand it till I got the chance to visit the recycling plant. And there I saw that you know, you go there and every substance is separated. There are subdivisions that you didn't even think were possible, and they have been made, right? And I got to learn that batteries, for example, are very toxic depending on how they are managed. You know, so it's not advisable to keep them with other materials, right? They should be kept separately because they possess various chemicals that, if are not disposed of properly, could be hazardous to us. So I think like this was one of the main things I saw, the proper management of waste, including e-waste, which I think that we could do here. And it might take time, but I believe that we can get there eventually.
So Larry, like Oheneba said, he's outlined some systems that other nations, for instance, Norway, have put in place. Is there something new that, or is there something in the pipeline for Ghana to take a cue from?
Yes, and as Oheneba rightly said, those are the challenges in terms of segregation at source. That has been our problem, even with the main household waste. So in our communication strategy, which we've done under the World Bank funded project, we've identified some of these strategies already, and we have designed ways of actually separating electronic waste and other hazardous waste from the household waste. So very soon you'll be seeing some awareness campaign from the household level, because we believe that that's where we need to start the whole awareness campaign.
Is it going to be that easy for people to actually separate plastics from other waste? I know in times past, on a pilot basis, some people have done that, but is it going to be that easy to encompass everybody to do that?
If you go around asking people, maybe I'll ask you yourself, why would you keep your own batteries in your own home? And if we provide you with the option of a drop-off point when you are coming to work, just drop it off at a point. And I'm sure Oheneba can tell you that in Norway, there are other drop-off points apart from somebody coming physically to your home to collect some of these items. But there's also an integration aspect that we are doing with our system in terms of the informal sector. How can we integrate them to collect household waste in terms of the hazardous nature? Because we don't want to leave it with the normal waste collectors, because they don't have the capacity to do that. And you can attest to that. Okay. You can do your own segregation at source, but when they come, they put everything together.
Yeah.
So with the conversation around the hazardous waste that we generate in our homes, we are trying to separate these kind of waste, and we have dedicated collectors in communities and households who can come and pick it up. But there's another option in terms of we establishing drop-off points and collection centers that people
can do that by
on
themselves.
your own, you can drop it off. And when you go to Green Ad, as we speak, they are collecting batteries. But it's a pilot scheme we are running with the scrap dealers. Once we expand that scheme, it will involve all household, like yourself, anybody who has these batteries in their homes, just drop it off at some vantage point that we will be advertising very soon.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, so we've heard about some of the current state of affairs and how things have progressed from where we were as a country with regards to e-waste and where we are now with the different partnerships that we are having. So it will also be interesting to hear, since you also spoke about the waste workers, we want to understand, the informal workers are still exposed to occupational hazards from the high level of toxins in the waste. And so we want to hear from these individuals who are working on the ground in the line of work.
You're the chief of all the burners.
Yes.
What do the burners do?
The burners, we are just burning. You see this copper.
Yeah.
If we burn it, they bring and sell it because of the plastic.
Yeah.
To remove and leave the copper fresh.
Is that a big business today, or was it better before?
The business is good, but you see, every day you are working with fire, but almost every day you go sick. Sometimes they send me to hospital and put me more water.
So it's not very healthy.
The burners is not good. We workers, we know it is not good, but we just pray God give us work.
And this is our business. Many people we don't have association. Like if I talk about association is maybe concerning my business side, we have association maybe for scrap dealers, but in my side we don't have association which governing the aluminium and copper products. So the challenge is anytime they can call you that and tell you that price drop, and by then you lost your capital. You're not even talk about profit. So there are a lot of challenges.
So what about the national issues with the government? Do you have any challenge relating to the government?
We have. That is a major thing, because at any point in time they can come and maybe sack us here.
So we are living in fear that
one day they will just come and ask you maybe to move. So that is a major challenge for us. Not only my business and scrap dealers general. We are helping government a lot because the country benefit from us too. They are getting a lot of things from here, maybe to support the country, like iron rods, roofing sheets, building materials and other things. We are supplying them the raw materials and they will go and process it.
Very interesting. So Oheneba, with this, as a person who was involved in academia also, it would be good to understand and elaborate on some of the social and health impact of these practices.
Okay, so as he mentioned, there are a lot of factors that are contributing to the poor working conditions that these people are exposed to. right? So I think that generally there's a lack of proper social, proper health safety measures involved in their line of work, right? And generally what this does is that it leads to environmental pollution, and then it negatively affects the lives of thousands of people. So generally you wouldn't see the whole effect of what's happening, but if you ask them, they tell you that, okay, so we had e-waste and we couldn't dispose of it well, so we burn it so that we get the metals from it. And when they burn these metals, there are lots of pollutants that are emitted into the environment. So you have heavy metals like lead, like cadmium, as well as oxins, which are not good for you or which cause cancer, right? And these pollutants are emitted into the environment and then end up affecting everyone. So, for example, a study was made from an egg in Abogbloshie. So they picked a random chicken which was just roaming freely, and they conducted a study on it. And when they took the sample, they found out that there was about 220 times more than the regular auxin rate that was in that egg. And these auxins, they cause cancer. And you can just imagine if 220 times more than the normal rate was present in that egg, what that speaks for us as a country. So I believe that these are conversations that need to be had. They rightly mentioned that they are helping the government, and it's true, they are contributing to the government. So we should really look at a way to properly structure their work so that at the end of the day, we all benefit and our health is safeguarded, yes.
Yeah. So now I would like to hear from Larry. What are some of the social protection measures and the general social measures being put in place to deal with the issues?
All right, thank you. So looking at the discussion in terms of the occupational health and safety issues, we work with the association in terms of the Scrap Dealers Association, and they can attest to the fact that EPA together with the ministry and GIZ, we've had a lot of training for them in terms of how they should go about dismantling or anything that they need to do. Now, we have come up with the technical guidelines, and they were part of the whole process. And there is in the guideline, we are looking at the code of conduct for scrap dealers, how they can improve on their occupational health and safety outlook, and then also how they can look presentable to people when they come to their homes to do collection. So for us, we are looking forward in terms of how they can be integrated into the formal recycling chain. And we see them to be very good at collection. So within the law that we have come out with, we have the whole value chain where we have collectors and then also people who can do collection and operate a collection center, and then also people who can do dismantling. Now, what we are saying is we need people to do collection, and they are very good at it. They are one of the best in terms of the recovery or collection rate. We don't need to complicate them by trying to let them do dismantling, which will actually get some of these toxic substances into the environment. They don't have the capacity to do that. Capacity is not just you having the tools and everything, but at least you need to have some level of training as well. Now, we are trying to set them up to have that capacity, but for now, because they are very efficient in collection, we want them to collect in a more efficient way and an environmentally sound manner, and hand over whatever they've collected to a dismantling facility that has all the tools and safety measures in place. So gradually, we can set them up to have their own facility where those tools can be given to them. But it's a gradual process that we are having with them.
Okay, so now that you want to expand it, to cover many people, are you considering something like, motivation aspect of the whole scheme so that people would be readily incentives, so to speak? Yes.
Yeah, when you talk about incentives to everybody, first of all, we need to understand that individuals have the responsibility to also have some responsibility to recycle their own waste that they have generated. Now, this goes to the end of extended producer responsibility. Now, people who I would say importers or producers of these equipment need to take responsibility. I don't know how many of you having been told anytime you buy equipment from the market that when you have a problem with your item or you cannot use it anymore, take it to this particular center. Maybe it's a few of them, because I have bought a washing machine and they told me if you have an issue, but it's because it's under warranty. They will tell you, you can bring it to the center and we will fix it for you. But once the warranty is off, you need to pay for the repair. If you cannot pay for it, what it means is that you need to keep it yourself as waste, or you need to leave it with them. But in the law, in terms of extended producer responsibility, the producer or the person selling the item to you is supposed to tell you that when you have a problem with your item, or if it cannot be used anymore and it's waste,
send it to a particular
location. Okay. And that is the scheme that we are also running, and it's in our law. Right. And those are the things we want to encourage, that you don't need an incentive from government. The responsibility is already on the person who has placed the item or the product on the market. Yeah. And that's everywhere. We are trying to look at a very small section of the public in terms of the scrap dealers who go around in the sun, and we want to provide them with an incentive, not the whole general public. Otherwise, that debate, I'm not sure it's sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your insights. I mean, it's important. Okay, so if you are a listener between the ages of 11 to 25 and get inspired to write, make videos, or take photographs of issues related to environmental problems and solutions, or you know someone who does, the YRE has its annual competition out now. Please visit the website at cestint.com/YRE competition for details. Grab this opportunity to give the environment a voice. Who knows? You could be our next lucky winner. So tune in, same time next week, as we continue discussions on all things sustainable development right here on Asaase Radio 99.5, so that we can have people and planet thrive.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us on the SDG-Hub. We've been speaking with Larry Kotoe and Oheneba Kwaku Addo Dade. I've been your host, Emmanuel Aboagye-Wiafe, and I did this with
Nino Omaboe.
Thank you so much. We go back to Beatrice.